Thank you, Dale, our music ministry, for that beautiful song and for the space that it's creating already within us, to move into this opportunity that is before us. And it really is an opportunity for us to recognize more of the good that is already within our lives and more of the good that is on its way. Becoming more open to the abundance and the prosperity and the love and the peace and compassion that are an experience of God. Now, interesting enough, I had set out to speak to you on this subject before looking at the calendar, and I did want to talk to you about abundance, and it just so happens that this Tuesday, we are beginning a new abundance course. It's Absolute Abundance First Steps. And I want to share with you an experience that one of the past participants had in this course. It's Kelly Bussey, who is our Racial Justice Ministry Chair and also one of our new board members. She said, "The Absolute Abundance course was an absolute gift. It helped me open my mind to new ways of thinking and being. As a result of the principles I learned during this course, I stopped playing small and was able to turn my passion into my profession. I also tripled my annual income." Sounds pretty good, huh? What an incredible blessing. This course was a turning point in my life, and I am so grateful I had the opportunity to participate in it. I highly recommend Absolute Abundance to anyone who is ready to make a positive change in their lives. So there you go. You have a testimonial from somebody who's taken it before. But I also, through the course of this talk, I want to be a testimonial also, because it really is the abundance courses, the prosperity teachings that really invited me to experience my life in a different way. And it was in one of the abundance courses that the idea for this talk actually came about. Now, I want to share with you that I first walked into Unity on the Bay and my first Unity community over 20 years ago. And what really hooked me at that time was the idea of metaphysics. Now, some of you may be familiar with metaphysics, and some of you may be familiar with the fact that we tend to look at the Bible through the lens of metaphysics. And what that means is we look at every single story as an expression of something that is going on within us. So the characters, the situations are things that are happening in consciousness. And we can really grab from there and take from there shifts, new ways of being, possibilities that we can start believing in. Now, when I look out into the world, as I mentioned earlier, I believe that there is a call to shift the lens by which we view it, the lens by which we live in it. And I'm not only talking about the world and all the things that are happening out in Russia and Ukraine or in Buffalo, but I'm talking about also in our internal world, right? Like the things that are happening in response to that, in reaction to that, or the things that may just be happening within us as we start to recognize that there are different ways in which we can live. And as we open ourselves to these principles and we open ourselves to the possibilities, how many of you experience sometimes a little struggle with it, right? We have this divine idea. We have this new way that we think, oh yeah, abundance, that's for me. And then all these other thoughts start coming up. Well, maybe it's not for me. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Maybe it's not meant to be my experience, right? And so it's the inner world and the outer world that we can shift from. Now, at the end of, I just had this thought, in all honesty. This last night, as I went to bed and I heard about what took place in Buffalo at the supermarket where 10 people were shot, right? And it was awful. And I thought to myself, am I really going to get up there tomorrow and talk about prosperity? While all these bigger things are going on in the world, am I really going to talk about how to create the life of our dreams when even in the life of my dream, I am still seeing the things that are happening outside? And I thought to myself, well, wait. Actually, what I want to share with you is that happily ever after is possible. That happily ever after is not just a tagline in these fairy tales that we hear about or that we listen to, but that it actually offers us an opportunity to recognize that even in the midst of all that is going on in the world and within us, happily ever after is a possibility here and now. And so the end goal for me today, my prayer for us today, is that we leave this morning believing in the happily ever after just a little bit more. And I share with you that these are the principles that have shifted my life. There was moments in my life where I didn't even think somewhat happily ever after was possible. Some of you know some of the struggles and challenges that I was experiencing when I first walked into Unity on the Bay. You know, nowadays I feel like my life is a life of abundance and prosperity, and I have every single blessing that I set myself to experience. And you're listening, you're talking to, you're in relationship with somebody who at one point in their lives would sneak into their friend's office, real estate office, after hours to sleep on the floor because of all the different things that were going on. But the most important thing, or the biggest thing, the biggest challenge in that moment is that I just didn't think I was worthy of prosperity, and I wasn't even worthy of asking for help. So instead of even asking my friend to sleep at their place, I would sneak into their real estate office and sleep on the floor for a couple of days, for about a week, right? You're also talking to somebody who does recognize that there are things happening in the world, and many of you know that I worked back in 2008 to be part of a grassroots campaign. I led the grassroots campaign against the so-called marriage amendment here in Florida that was defining marriage between a man and a woman. And I worked really hard. I was putting all the principles in place, and we still lost that battle back in 2008. And over 62% of Floridians said that my relationship with my husband wasn't worthy of being recognized. And yet, as I shifted my perspective, as I shifted recognizing that I was worthy and my relationship was worthy, I still did the work. And so back then in 2015, Tom and I, my husband and I, were part of the lawsuit that actually got marriage equality into the state of Florida. And so I've seen struggles, I've seen setbacks, and I'm here to tell you that if we continue to do our work, if we continue to believe and have faith in the principles, put them into action, we can live happily ever after. We can live into a greater blessing, a blessing that is already on its way to be experienced in the here and now by each and every one of us. And so I want to share with you that today is about really owning the magic that is within us. And when I say the magic, it's not this like foo-foo, ethereal thing. It really is magic, because if you really step back and think about the power that we have, right? The power that we get to choose between love and ego, that's magic. If we get to look at how we can shift the world that we are living in, that we are experiencing, simply by being empowered by the truth of who we are and be empowered by the strength and the faith and the trust that is within us, that's magic, right? Like, we tend to let it, not let it be bigger than it is. It is magic. We are here to open ourselves to experiencing a world of magic. And it is this conscious and it is this energy that we really are invited into. And, maybe it's like being more like the children, who believe in the fairy tales and who believe in the happily ever after. We are told in the Bible to be like the babes, right? To be like the children. So if there is anything within you that is keeping you from believing that there is a happily ever after in the here and the now for you, or for those that are sitting right next to you, for those that are at home with you, for humanity itself, this is the moment of letting it go. And I want to share with you the metaphysics of a story that some of you may have heard about before, and that is the story of Cinderella. I know we're gonna get deep with the story of Cinderella. Now, how many of you know this? Well, how many of you don't know the story of Cinderella? We will not judge you. We'll probably just send you the DVD. Well, so the story of Cinderella, right? Well, one of the things that I learned, though, as I was preparing the talk, is that actually the story of Cinderella has thousands of variants of that story. And one of the first recorded variants of the Cinderella story is from 7 BC. It's an old story told in different cultures and different communities. And we can assume that part of it is this idea, this fantasized idea of like what it would be like to be a princess, to marry Prince Charming. But I don't think those kind of stories would stay relevant, right, if that was just it. So the question is there something deeper in that story? Is there something else that we can capture from it? And what would that be? And so think about the way in which the human psyche has connected to this story, saying there's something there. And so this is my interpretation of that story, and I want to share it with you. Come up with your own interpretation. Come up with the interpretation that works for you. But check this one out. Because see, the idea of all of these variants, it begins with this girl, this woman, who in her own house loses both her parents, feels disconnected, and then all of a sudden, the stepmom and the stepsister show up. In her own house, Cinderella was a slave to all that negativity, to all that meanness, to the cruelness, right, that was going on. Have you experienced in your own house, and when I say in your own house, I mean in your own consciousness, this idea of you being this disconnected individual, having lost parents, right, like this father figure, this mother figure, whatever kind of way you want to see God, and all of a sudden the ego shows up as the evil stepsisters and the evil stepmom and start telling you, you're not good enough. You're not worthy. You aren't loved. Have we experienced that in our lives before? And so this is a story of how Cinderella, through like in the daily word, recognizes that she can be free from that. And anybody, any one of us who hasn't felt good enough for our good, we are being invited to recognize those are just thoughts. Those are just the ego trying to keep us down. And the more that we remember that we are that Cinderella, that pure of heart, that is the possibility, that is the choice that we can make. Rather than choosing the ego, we choose love. Rather than choosing nefarious ways of trying to better ourselves, right? Like the evil stepsisters and this evil stepmom thought that in order for them to reach their good, they had to keep Cinderella down. But Cinderella actually recognizes that we're all in this together. And so how are we keeping ourselves from our good? Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to the nations." You see, that tells me that God created us for amazing things. And somehow we have allowed our ego to be so arrogant to tell God that he was wrong. To tell God that he was wrong in making us for greater things. I mean, how arrogant is that? What would it feel like? What would it be if instead of listening to that arrogant voice, we simply just allow ourselves to begin to trust it, to believe in what is being told to us in Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5. The ego voice is the one that says we're not good enough, that others can have more and more, and that we won't be able to accomplish that which we want. We've had those thoughts, but regardless of having those thoughts, regardless of having those people in her own house telling her that she wasn't good enough, Cinderella was a giver. She was generous. If you think back on the Disney story, she was friends with all the little animals, and whatever she could do, she did. In the face of being limited, in the face of being told that she had nothing to give, she still was generous and gave. And Matthew chapter 17, verse 20 says, "For truly I tell you, if you have the faith the size of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there.' It will move, and nothing will be impossible to you." She had faith. Because it takes faith to be generous, does it not? To be able to see what the picture is looking like outside in the world and still know that there is something that we can give, that there is something greater. And Cinderella believed in the happily ever after. She thought that one day she would meet her Prince Charming, right? In the face of people telling her that she wasn't good enough, something within her said, you know what? I am good enough. I am worthy. And there are different possibilities for me to live into. And so now everybody gets invited into this royal dance. The king wants to marry off his son. And as soon as that happens, Cinderella actually wants to attend. The audacity within her within the way that she was living, within the evil or the limitations that she was experiencing in her old house, to say, no, I want to be there. And somehow I can be there. Now, what happens, though, when she claims it? The little voices, right? The stepmom comes in, the stepsisters come in, and they're like, oh, no, yes, you can go to the royal ball. Oh, but first, you got to clean the house. First, you got to take care of, like, the horses outside, whatever it may be, right? How many of us have had that thought, wait, maybe I can be worthy, and I am worthy of that great job, or that great house, or that great relationship. Oh, but first I got to do this, I got to do that. Like, we have to, like, quantify or qualify ourselves in order to actually get there. Instead of just saying, here and now, I am worthy to claim my good. I am already here and now worthy to claim relationships that work. Maybe there's some things for me to do here and there, but right now, I'm already worthy. So we've stopped ourselves sometimes from achieving our visions because we don't think we have all the resources in order to actually start living into it. When, for me, the moment that we claim our vision, life starts to support us in moving in that direction. We just got to be open to it. And it happens, right? Because all of a sudden, Cinderella does get the help that she's looking for. Now, especially looking out in the world right now, I think to myself, sometimes the issues and the challenges seem too hard or too difficult. And so we insulate ourselves. We say, well, first I'll work on me, and then I'll go out into the world. Guess what? We're in the world already. So we can do both. We can work on ourselves so that we know the right action that we must take in the world outside of us to claim our good, but to also claim the good for all of humanity. Happily Ever After is our creation. It's an individual and collective dream and vision that we can attain. And so we can, in this very moment, not only choose to be agents of a prosperity and abundance and the visions that we hold for ourselves, but we can also choose to be agents of peace. We can also be agents of compassion, of love, and of light. That is what we are worthy of, not only to experience those things, but we're worthy of being the experience of those things for others. We can claim that truth. We can say yes. And many of us probably do say yes when we see that vision, when we see what is possible, right? Have you claimed your dream before? Have you claimed a vision for yourself in the past? And so we claim it and we claim it and we claim it. How many of you have experienced what Cinderella experienced, where she got all, she did everything she needed to do. She got all dolled up, right? And she was getting ready to go out there. And what happens again? The resistance shows up. How many of you have experienced resistance once you claim your vision and your dream? I have, right? Like I have. I've experienced it also with you. And what happens? We can be a slave to it, we can allow that to take over, or we can still hold true to the vision. Now, those voices, the stepmom came and, right, like they tore off the dress, they threw Cinderella in her room and told her she wasn't going to be able to do it. Isn't it time that even when we feel the resistance, we push through it? Because I bet you, if you're like me, that even as you've claimed some dreams and some visions for yourself, there are aspects of you that have said, too much resistance. I don't have it in me. I don't have the energy. I don't have the wisdom. I don't have the strength. I don't have the resources to push through. And I'm here to tell you that the more that we step out of that and recognize that it is even in the toughest, right, in the toughest situations and the biggest challenges and the biggest resistance that we face, is where the magic really starts to happen. Because, you can look out into the world, and I've been thinking about this a lot. We can think out into the world and think, we're so far from loving each other. We're so far from being at peace with each other. And that's one way to look at it. And that may move you. That may inspire you to do great things. And what would it feel like if we could just say, we're on the cusp of a greater love. We're on the cusp of a way that the world works for all. We're on the cusp of happily ever after for me and for you and for those around me. We're on the cusp. Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 3 says, "You have circled this mountain long enough. Now head north." We've allowed ourselves to not truly believe. We have allowed ourselves to keep ourselves from the vision just because we faced the resistance, or we faced the bad news, or we faced what is happening and what is shaping up in the world. We've moved through this mountain long enough. Our time is now to face north and to live into our abundance. And in her darkest hour, Cinderella got who to visit her? Her fairy godmother. That fairy godmother that really, if you think about it, is that Christ consciousness that allows us to experience the world in a different way. And what does the fairy godmother do? She doesn't conjure up all these different things. She looks around what Cinderella already has. She has her friends who she turns into, the carriage driver. There's a pumpkin nearby who she turns into a carriage. It wasn't just like poofed out of, from nothing. It was looking at what was around her and recognizing that the potential that it had was greater and bigger than they had ever imagined. What are the things that are in your life already that are a part of supporting you into your greater dream that you may not have realized? What are the shifts in consciousness? What are the shifts in seeing the things that are around you, right? Like the shift from we're far from it to we're on the cusp of it. And then through that belief system, through that shift, all of a sudden, what does the fairy godmother do? Bippity boppity boop. And things shift. Bippity boppity boop. You each got one of these if you're in the room today. Bippity boppity boop. But this is a reminder that magic can take place. This is a reminder that your good is at hand. This is your reminder that you, right, the fairy godmother that is within you, the Christ consciousness that is within you, is the one that has the power to do the things that you want to do. And one of the things that I love the most about the Cinderella story is at the end. So she goes to the ball, she leaves the glass slipper. By the way, everybody take a look at Faye's glass slippers on their way out. But she has the glass slippers, right? And she leaves one behind. And it's the king and the prince that go out looking with the one that she left behind to see which one fit, whose feet fit, right? Makes me think, like sometimes, even with good intentions, people outside of us try to define us. You know what happens in part of the story? When the stepmom puts her leg out or whatever, and the prince falls and the glass shatters. And it could have been done there in that moment. But what does Cinderella do? I'm not defined by your shoe. Let me show you the one shoe I have. She was defining herself. How are we defining ourselves in the dreams and in the vision that we have for ourselves? Philippians chapter 4, verse 9 says, "Keep on doing the things that you have learned and received and heard and seen in me, and the God of peace will be with you." Continue to do the work. Continue to do the affirmations. Continue to feel yourself worthy, whatever that may be. See, the clock stroked 12 and things were gone. It's a moment by moment, day by day practice, and we get to live into it. But we have all the tools and all the resources that we need. And so Cinderella really owns her strength at the end of the story. Cinderella really owns the magic, the bippity boppity boop magic in her life. And so how can we manifest like Cinderella? 3 simple steps. To give generously and be kind, especially in the face of limitation. To give ourselves permission, even in the face of not being able to experience our good in that moment, to give ourselves permission to imagine the good that we deserve. And 3, that daily practice to define ourselves as worthy. See, that's what shifted for me, right? That's what shifted for me when I first came to Unity, to start doing the work of knowing that I was worthy, and that is the magic in self. So I want to play a little magic with you guys this morning, okay? So if you're in the room, bring out your little wand. this is what we're going to do. It's a daily practice. This is where the magic happens. Knowing that we are worthy, right? So let's claim it together. I am worthy, bippity boppity boop. Do it again. I am worthy, bippity boppity boop. One more time. I am worthy, bippity boppity boop. And the more that we claim it for ourselves, the more what? We are worthy. Imagine the world that is worthy of love. Imagine the world that is worthy of peace. Imagine the world that is worthy of harmony. Say it with me. We are worthy. 3 times. We are worthy, bippity boppity boop. We are worthy, bippity boppity boop. We are worthy, bippity boppity boop. Now, especially today, if you're experiencing your own challenges, your own struggles, if you're looking out at the world and the grief of what took place last night, the issues around the patriarchy, telling a woman how to control her own body, whatever the issues that really invite you to recognize that there is a different way of showing up in the world, this is your time to create some magic. I want to leave you with a couple of lines from A Dream is a Wish Your Heart Makes, which is what the fairy godmother sings to Cinderella. Have faith in your dreams, and someday your rainbow will come smiling through. No matter how your heart is grieving, if you keep on believing, the dream that you wish will come true. Beepity boppity boop, thank you for this morning.
What a great message, right? Unity on the Bay? Yes? Make some noise, make some noise. Yes. Bippity boppity boo. Ruth, you are enough. Bippity boppity boo. Angelica, you are worthy. Bippity boppity boo. Faye will get more shoes. It is done. It is done. Please give Reverend Juan another round of applause for that incredible message. I think I'm going to walk around with this wand all week. Just to let you know, incredible message. And here at Unity on the Bay, we believe in the spiritual law of giving and receiving. And now is your chance to give in gratitude. We have envelopes for you. Raise your hand, and Nick or Juanita will come on by and hook you up with an envelope. Or if you would like, you can go green. You can text GIVE to 833-245-5645. It makes your life a lot easier if you set that up one time. Put it in your contacts, then you just click on it, 3 clicks, and you are done. But if you need an envelope, we will hook you up. Do not worry, all right? So I'm going to give you a few moments in silence to prepare your gift. If you need to add some energy to your gift, add some prayer to your gift, feel free, all right? I'm going to give you a couple seconds in silence to do so. After service, is that okay? I have bad sight, and I can see up to here. I can see up to Renee, and I'm like, Renee, is that voice coming from you? I'm so sorry. We would love for you to sing a song right after service. Give me like 2 minutes. You're very welcome, Kalinda. All right, folks, hold your gift or your hand to your heart, and we'll bless these gifts together. Divine love, that I am. Blessed is all that I give and all that I receive. Let's take a moment to bless the incredible children that are right now in the Kids Zone right here at Temple Israel. Let's get our hands together and bless them, and bless Raul as well. Children, we love you. We bless you. We behold the Christ in you, and we see you doing great things. Remember that we're here to pray with you, pray for you. If something came up during service and you don't want to go home with it, please grab one of our prayer chaplains after service. Take a few moments with them, okay? Whatever you need to release, they are here for that. Please, please, please. With that, I will invite Reverend Juan on up for our prayer for protection, followed by our peace song.
So thank you again for joining us today. Would love to see you be a part of the Absolute Abundance course that is taking place starting this Tuesday. Would love to just share in that energy and dream up what is possible for each and every one of us. More information is on our website. With that, let us stand so that we can say our prayer for protection, and we'll follow that with our peace song. And I better see wands moving as we sing. All right, so together, let us affirm. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Happy Sunday, everyone.
Hallelujah.
So much better. Without the video, so much